I'm hopeful for the day where my daughter matures enough to a point where she can say, Dad, thank you for loving and caring for me through the stuff that was difficult for me to get through. I see it now. I understand it.
Right.
And all I'm going to say is, I was there for you. I'm here for you. I'm always going to be there for you. Not even are you welcome, because a thank you to me isn't required, isn't needed, because that's part of the job of loving your child.
Welcome to another episode of the Nacho Kids Podcast.
That's right.
Starring myself, Lori Sims, and my husband, David Sims.
Co-star way down the list somewhere.
No.
Oh, man. So a couple things. One, if you want to be on this podcast, be interviewed, reach out to Lori. You can get her at contact us at nachokids.com. Or if you want to hit her directly, it's Lori, Lori, at nachokids.com. Tell her you want to be on the podcast, and then we will reach out and get that scheduled.
That's right. All right. Also, do not forget, if you want to join the Nacho Kids Academy and get everything that is offered in there, you need to do it by February the 15th.
Yep. You want to be grandfathered in at the current pricing, because prices will increase on the 15th, as well as we'll have another tier within the academy. So if you join now, we're actually going to bump you up to the new tier at the more expensive price, but you're going to be locked in at the cheap price.
Yep. Forever.
Yep. Forever and ever.
And this is the last time that this will be offered.
Yep. As they say, it'll never be this low again, ever.
Ever.
Well, I will say we did a really good job of not raising prices during COVID and all these other things that have been happening.
Yeah, but I tell you, we are seeing the impact on the cost it's costing us to do the podcast and to host the website. And
oh yeah, all of our costs went up considerably, but we kept it low because everybody was having, issues, shutdowns, and then recovery from that. So we sacrificed as long as we could. And so now we're going to go ahead and start bumping things up so we can get back to where we were. But when we launch the new tiers and all the information on that, it'll be on the webpage. If you're in our email list, you'll get all that in the email. If you're not on the email list, you need to join that, because that's where a lot of our information goes out. So join the email. Let's go to nachokids.com. You can sign up there. I think it's at the bottom of the homepage. You can sign up for the email list, and we don't badger you with a bunch of spam email, but you do want to make sure that you're getting our email. So you want to whitelist that email address that we're sending from, so you get all the information, because there's a lot of things that we only send out through email. We don't talk about it in the Facebook group. We don't even talk about it on the podcast. It comes out in that email.
Well, not just that, but if I post in the Facebook group, I reach 80 people.
Yeah, out of 20 something thousand.
Right. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yep.
I guess I need to be more dramatic in my post just to get more attention with it.
And one last thing, as I mentioned last time, we're trying to ramp up our YouTube channel. So if you will, go find us on YouTube and like and subscribe to that, so that we can boost up the engagement there and get more people to find us, since YouTube is a search engine.
Right. And we are going to be adding content to YouTube. Currently, there's only a few videos. The majority of them are our podcast. And David said that he can fix that for me and put it in a different category or something. I don't know. Playlist. Something to do with playlist.
If you subscribe and all that stuff, then that means when we drop new content there, you'll get notified.
Okay.
All right. So interview number 2, part 2, right?
Interview number 2. But this time, her hubby jumps in.
Okay, cool.
Not going to tell you when and not going to tell you what about. But David, as I mentioned, he said he is a hoot. And
so he's a self-proclaimed hoot.
Yeah, he's a self-proclaimed hoot. And the last podcast started off with her telling me that they've got a lot of content for us.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to listening.
She'll even say that, even around her father, around her dad, she'll say those kinds of things too.
What kind of things?
Well, she'll say that mom is a priority. She's got to do things with mom this, mom that, mom this. And And it makes him feel bad sometimes. But that's what she wants. The
Mm-hmm.
bio mom, that is. That's what she wants. She wants him to feel bad.
Uh-huh.
That's the
Yes.
goal in the whole thing.
Yeah, he has to be punished.
He has to be punished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the issue between you and stepdaughter, it has nothing to do with you. If you don't know that, you need to tell yourself that, because that's true. It does not have anything to do with you personally. You are an easy target.
Oh, well, yes, from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, an easy target.
Yeah. I think the name for stepmom should be Bullseye. When you marry your partner, you become a bullseye.
Oh my gosh. That's hysterical. Yes, absolutely.
It's true.
It is true.
Anything that has went wrong or looked like it may have started to go wrong is your fault.
Well, it is, but also I think what people don't really talk about, especially in situations where there's infidelity,
Mhm.
right? I mean, what did you say the other day, that it's 40% of all families that are blended? Is that what you said? Okay, so that's a lot. That's a lot of people,
Right.
right? So of that 40%, we're going to maybe assume that 20% of that involves some infidelity. That may actually be an understatement, even,
Oh, yes.
right?
Mhm.
So I think that when that's played in, there's so much more ammo that is created for the anger and the upset, and from either side, dad or
Right.
mom, you know? And what they don't realize, what the mother and the father, the couple, I should say, don't realize, is that it is the marriage that is the problem.
Right.
Therapists say this all the time. It's the marriage that is the problem. It's not the
Mhm.
person that they've chosen. I've said this to my husband too, that it doesn't matter who the person is or who they decide that they're going to be with, that it's the marriage that was the problem.
Right.
It was the marriage that was sick. It was the marriage that was not right.
Right.
Because if it was right, and if it was happy, and if it was everything you want a marriage to be, let's just put it that way, then no one's getting divorced,
Right.
right? So there's a reason that there's a divorce.
Mhm.
And the only reason is the two people that are in it,
Right.
nothing exterior.
Mhm.
Because whoever those two people are, they have control over what they do, what they see, how they behave,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So when all of that goes wrong, then you know what? You have a decision to make. But the person who ends up getting hurt, right? Maybe one wanted to not get divorced, or maybe one wasn't thinking they would ever get divorced. So it's a huge upset, right? Whatever
Right.
it is, that person becomes angry and is looking for, like you said, a bullseye,
Mhm.
looking for someone to blame,
Right.
instead of reaching inside and saying, guess what? This has something to do with me and the way I behaved.
Right. Mhm.
And that's a lot. That's what therapy does, right?
Yes.
Therapy does that. Therapy gets you there.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to have somebody to talk to, whether it's a life coach, a therapist, a counselor, whatever title they may have.
Mhm.
Find
Mhm.
somebody that works with you. And when you're telling them your problems, they're not afraid to tell you, well, maybe you should look at that a little differently.
Mhm.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of what we deal with stress wise is how we look at things
Mhm.
and how we
Absolutely.
harp on things
Oh, yeah.
over and over and over.
Yeah, I was, like I said, I wasn't always good at this. I wasn't always good at just letting things go, or just kind of seeing where things are going to go and then going with the flow. I needed to know. I needed to be right. Right.
Yep.
I was younger, but that was not the right way. I said this to my husband before too, is that I feel like that is what we both were missing in a mother, right? Like
Oh,
you watch your mom dealing with these kinds of things, right? That you have that connect where you can see your mom modeling these kinds of behaviors for you,
yeah.
strong women who, are able to let things roll off their shoulders. And that's how my mom was, but I didn't know her as an adult. I
Right.
didn't know her when I became a mom. I didn't know her. When I got married, I didn't know her.
Right.
So I've been learning all of these things by myself and my husband too. His dad also passed away like 10 years ago, I think. And when your parents are not there for you when you are a younger or youngish person, there's a lot of things that you're learning and growing through on your own.
Right.
And when you're smart enough, right? When you're aware enough, you find help, which is what you're saying. You get a therapist or you get a life coach or, someone that can help you see these things a little bit differently than inside of your trauma or inside of your um, triggers,
Right.
you know? And that,
Identifying those triggers.
yes. And that's
Yes,
hard work, right?
it is,
That's hard
because
work.
identifying the triggers isn't as hard as trying to figure out where the root of those triggers started.
Right. But then also, once you figure it out, now, and this was me, now you have to figure out how to recognize it in the moment
Mhm.
and be able to step back and say, I need to stop right now
Mhm.
and not have this conversation. And we need to do it maybe later, like in a half an hour, because what I'm going to say right now to you is not going to be good.
Yeah, and otherwise, I'm about to be ugly, so we need a break before we talk about this.
Yes.
You
Because
bound to make me hurt your feelings.
nobody's pretty when they're triggered.
Oh, no. No.
Nobody's pretty when they're triggered. And it takes a really mature person. And children, especially stepchildren, are really good to watch when they've been triggered because that's what happens exactly to adults when they're triggered too, except now we can pull it back a little bit. Well, most of us can.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And understanding that about our kids too is that they're just mini adults and they're being triggered all the time too by the things that we do and say because we're not perfect.
Right, and they don't know how to deal with them.
No, they
No,
don't.
we don't know how to deal with them. How are they supposed to know? I
I
love
told
it when
my
we have clients that are teaching their kids how to nacho.
mm,
They're teaching their kids how to nacho issues with the step siblings.
I love it.
They are teaching them how to respectfully nacho their partner.
You said the key word right there.
Respectfully. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you're being mean, you ain't nachoing. You're just being
Right.
mean.
Yep. And that's what immature people do, or people who haven't been in therapy is, and I'm going to be generalizing here, but that's what sometimes men do.
Mhm.
Men aren't always connected to the way that they feel, or the men that I've known. I'm Chicago Italian person, right? So these men are not connected to their feelings. And so when they get upset about something, it's out there. It's on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no hiding from it. So being able to emotionally check yourself is not something that comes easy, I think, for anybody,
Oh, no.
especially children.
Yeah. This nacho stuff's hard work.
It is hard work.
It is. Yep.
Hmm. I
Especially
like
when
it
you have
though.
to go, wait a minute. You mean that I'm a part of the problem? Me? Sweet little angel Lori? How can I be part of the problem? It's got to be y'all.
Oh, I know. I feel like that sometimes because I'm perfect, right?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the knowledge that I have obtained in the 15 years of being a step parent or the 13 years of doing Nacho, it just amazes me.
Are you happy?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Like you said, I'm happier than I've ever been.
Oh, good. Well, how do you think I'm handling these things with my stepdaughter? Well, I mean, it's you, and she just decides that she's not going to talk to you anymore after having all these wonderful experiences, right? So what are it's happening to you? What do you do?
Well, you have to ask yourself some questions. That was in August, right? No contact since. Nothing at Christmas.
She came by on Christmas Eve to get her gifts, requested that she open them not in the same room as the rest of us. So they were in another room. And then after they were done opening, came into the kitchen.
Okay.
That was the last time.
Okay. Is that when you saw her and you hugged her?
I did not hug her. This was the first time I've seen her since August. And first time I've seen her, talked to her, anything with her since August. So the Christmas before, so not 2024, but 2023.
Okay.
She was over for the first time, and for the first time for a holiday, I should say, and it was wonderful. Yeah, it was wonderful. She was
Okay, that was the good time. All right, this Christmas she comes by, says, "I'm going to get my presents, Diddy, but me and you have to go in the other room."
Yep.
And then she comes out and hangs out in the kitchen and then leaves. Didn't say a word to you.
No, we did talk. It was, it was surface, like how's school, that kind of stuff. But it was fine.
Okay, so that's good.
It is good. Yeah, but you know what? I'm not gonna lie. There's part of me that's like, yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, that's what you have to figure out.
Yeah.
When you asked if you're doing the right thing, well, where do you want this to go? Do you really care or do you not?
Well, of course I care. Like I said, I was on board.
You just don't want to get hurt again.
I don't want to invest in a relationship with somebody who is just going to turn around and say, I shouldn't say, just pretend like I don't exist.
Right.
So she goes away to school. They have a parents' weekend, and she doesn't want me there, which is fine because technically I'm not really her parent, right? But she wants her mother and father together at this parents' weekend. And mind you, they have never been together in any kind of situation like that before since the divorce.
Oh, wow.
But she wants them together, like kind of like a family thing, to the point where they wanted to have dinner with him, all whilst pretending that he's not married, doesn't have a relationship with somebody else. Like, it's very strange.
They wanted him to play Happy Family.
They wanted to play Happy Family, or I should say, my stepdaughter and the bio mom wanted to play Happy Family.
Well, bio mom should have thought about that before she dropped her britches. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So then I said to him, well, I don't know. Like that doesn't seem right to me. I appreciate that you want to go down there. And I think you absolutely should help her move into her room. And because they would be together for that too, because bio mom was down there for that as well. So they're there together doing this, getting their child ready for school. He's putting furniture together, like they're all together. But then, this dinner thing comes up and I'm like, does that seem right? And at first he was like, well, why is that a big deal? And I said, it's a big deal because they don't recognize the fact that you are married.
Right.
And they are wanting to have a little happy family dinner. That doesn't sit right with me. So you have a choice to make, and I'm not really going to stand in your way. If you want to do it, do it. But I'm telling you how I feel about it, and I don't think it's right.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, he went down there, did the whole thing, did the move in, and then did not go to dinner.
Yeah. Well, I know some
So
people that it's okay if they go to dinner with the ex. They don't have a problem with it. That's what works for them, right? But my thing is, there's a difference when it's for a child that's 5 and in the hospital.
right.
And I get that dad wants to be involved with the moving her in and all that, but maybe her and dad could have went to lunch and mom and her could have went to dinner.
Right. And that's actually one of the things that my husband is actually extremely aware and has great boundaries with them. He didn't used to, but he does now. Since
Good.
the therapy and like all that. So he's doing amazing. But there are times when, I say to myself, like, would it really be a big deal if they went out to dinner? Would it really be a big deal? Probably not. But it's the message that it sends to them because they are the party that is against his life,
Right.
right? If they accepted his life, accepted that he's moved on, accepted that we have a blended family, that whole scenario, that would be a different story. If
Right.
we were all going out together, awesome. Let's do it
Mm-hmm.
because I want to support. I want to be there to help if I can.
Right.
And if they invite me, great. I will
Right.
be there.
But they're
Mostly
excluding you.
purposely, absolutely every single time. As a matter of fact, when she was in high school, she participated in like a group thing, right? And so there were weekly events, and I was not allowed there.
Really?
Mhm.
So at what point in time did y'all get along? Because it seems like throughout the whole relationship, you're not allowed anywhere.
Oh no, nothing to do with the ex-wife or the daughter. But think about it this way. He wasn't allowed to be around his daughter.
Oh, yeah.
So why would I?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
And I say that term not allowed loosely. There was a lot involved, on the biomom side. She absolutely needed to have control over every single thing that her daughter did. Everything. From school to therapy to they tried to have her in therapy. She went through, I think, 4 therapists
Oh, wow.
because the result was not what biomom wanted,
That's
right?
crazy.
So they kept finding another one, and one of them was questionable because he was like a friend of hers or something. So there was like a conflict of interest, and it was whatever. So that whole thing was completely controlled by
Right.
mom.
Now,
And
I'm for one, if you can't connect with your therapist or life coach or whatever, find another one.
mhm,
But don't
absolutely,
just
yeah.
go seeking for someone to validate your inappropriate behavior.
That is exactly what was happening, yes.
Yeah.
So I had a therapist when I was going through my divorce because I needed to sort some things out. And my therapist actually ended up being my husband's therapist because obviously I recommended her right
Mhm.
to him. So he was seeing her, I was seeing her separately. And then she was also seeing us as a couple. So she
Okay.
was treating me, my husband, and our
And y'all.
marriage.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, and it's been great because she's seen us grow, like for all these years. We haven't seen her in a while now
It's time to go
because
back just to give her an update.
I
Say,
know,
we just want
right?
y'all to see how great we're
Oh my
doing.
gosh. I have a side note for you. Oh, do you have time to hear this? This is hysterical.
Yeah.
It's a therapy funny. So my ex-husband and I were in therapy. Okay. After, we kind of decided that, maybe we should go to therapy. So we're going to therapy and we're, and we're going through therapy and all this stuff comes out and blah, blah, blah. You know how therapy is with couples that don't like each other. Right. So,
Uh,
so that happens. And then now fast forward to my husband and I getting back together. okay, as adults.
Mhm.
And we're driving out to dinner one night. And now we're not living together or anything like that. We're just at the dating point here, right? So we're driving to dinner and we drive by my former therapist's office. And I say, "Oh, that's the therapy office I went to when, with my ex-husband." And he turns and looks at me and he goes, "You're kidding me." And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "That's where ex-wife and I went." Not only not only was it the same office, Lori, it was the same therapist.
No way.
Yes. And how do I know this? Because our therapist only had 4 fingers on one hand.
So you're like, "Wait a minute, was it 4 fingers?" And he was like, "Yeah, it was 4 fingers."
Those were his exact words. Yes. So then I'm like, "Oh my God, how can I tell him this without, you know, client privilege, whatever it is, right?"
Right.
So I email him and I'm like, "I don't know how you did it with the scheduling, but props to you for not making sure that I was in the same office with you when when they showed up."
Right.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. It was funny. Anyway, so that's my funny therapist story.
That is hilarious.
I just remember, thinking back that I felt like such a train wreck, for such a long time, like,
Yeah.
because like I told you, we were separated and I was living with my ex-husband.
Right.
And it just, even though it was good for the kids, it was not good for me
No. Or
emotionally.
him.
It was a train wreck. It was an
Right.
absolute train wreck as a woman.
Mhm.
And for him as a man, it was a train wreck of a situation. For the kids, it was fine because they knew what was going on. We weren't lying to them.
Right.
They knew we were getting divorced, but we were still just decided to stay together. But I felt like for such a long time, I felt like such a train wreck. And
Right. It's not like you lived in a duplex. You lived in the one house that you shared.
yes, yes.
Yeah, like
And
roommates.
yes. And it was fun. Like I said, it was fine sometimes and not fine other times. But that time in my life, not just being separated and living in the same house, but that whole chunk of time around where I realized, oh, this is not going to work, and then finally, getting a divorce and moving out. I felt so out of control of my life, and I was
Mhm.
wondering, what the hell am I doing?
Right.
Like, this is so wrong. And my kids were there to see and hear and I my ex-husband and I, to his credit, we had a train wreck of a marriage, but he, with my kids, is good.
Well, that's good.
And he didn't badmouth, and as far as I know, he didn't badmouth me. He didn't, do the things that my husband's ex-wife is doing. He didn't do any of that. So I think that's why my boys are healthy in our blend,
Right.
because they saw their parents being like, "Okay, well, this is just how it is, and we support each other and we're going to co-parent you, but we're just not going to be married."
Right.
You know?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a train wreck, but now it isn't. So fast forward to now, and I just feel like I get stressed out. Like, you get that feeling you get in your stomach. I get stressed out just thinking about that time in my life, and now to know where I'm at, and I feel like my kids are in a good place, and I'm ridiculously happy in my marriage, and
Mhm.
I'm feeling like almost like it's too good. Like,
Right.
I definitely I did the work
Right.
to get where I'm at,
Yes.
but it's so different and such in a good way.
Well,
You know.
what I would suggest as far as stepdaughter goes
Mm-hmm.
is I've got a flow chart that I use and I post it in occasionally on social media. And it's should I do this for stepkid? And it's
Mm-hmm.
has the stepkid told you not to, or has your partner told you not to? If the
Mm-hmm.
answer is no, is it something you want to do? If it's yes, the next question is, will they be appreciative?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, the question is, will it hurt your feelings and cause resentment? If that answer
Yeah.
is yes, don't do it.
I need to see that flow chart.
Well, I will send it to you.
I'd love it.
I just made it pretty.
I'm going to give it to my husband.
Yeah. And I get that we should always do things without expectations at all. Even a simple thank you, we should not expect.
Right. No, and that is definitely part of it
Right.
is the appreciation factor. I'm calling my husband to come up so you can hear his voice too. Yeah, I think that we're sort of, at least I would say we're 80% aligned on on the stepdaughter stuff, step person stuff.
Yeah. But it's going to be a lot easier for him to forgive her for anything that has happened than it will be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You made the fat guy walk up the stairs. Come on.
She made the fat guy walk up the stairs. Is that what you said?
Yeah. He's not fat.
Yeah. That's not nice of her. She should have brought it to you, man.
It's all about her.
Stop it.
I go to her.
This is Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm the husband.
She's the queen of the nacho.
The nacho queen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the nacho queen.
Mm-hmm.
So how did this thing go?
It went well.
Hey.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you want to ask him anything about his daughter?
Do you want to talk about your daughter?
Yeah, I can. I'm more than willing to. If it helps and it helps others, then yes.
If it helps my wife.
Yeah. I want to say that, first of all, I'm sorry that you're going through that. I cannot imagine. So
Thank you.
One question I have to ask you is, at some point, I would assume that you thought you were going to see your daughter like next weekend, for instance. And then all of a sudden, that's when she stopped coming. When that reality hits you and you wake up in the morning, how do you keep pushing forward?
Well, first off, I say a couple prayers about serenity, things that I can control, can't control, and just move forward one step at a time with what I have to do to get through the day. Usually, if there's a situation, I'm sure my wife has shared with you the history here of my daughter being a part of my life and not part of my life. There was a long stretch of time where she wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't have anything to do with me. And that was probably the most trying time in my life.
Yeah.
Having somebody I love, not wanting to be around me for various reasons. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being vague because I don't know what my wife has shared with me or shared with you. So, for example, there's been times where we would plan to go to a movie or we would go to get breakfast or go to get dinner. And then all of a sudden it's like, my friends are more important or whatever other excuse there is so that she didn't have to see me or communicate with me or just be around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest, it's hard. It really is because in my mind, I'm just trying to be a good dad and do what I can to provide, to care, to love for her, given the fact that the ex-wife is, in my opinion, toxic.
Mm-hmm.
She is, in a way, tainted the relationship with me. So my daughter sees me in a light that, in my minor prejudice and totally incorrect opinion, it's wrong. She's seeing half the picture.
Right.
She blames me and my wife for a lot of this stuff. So that's a little bit of the background. You're coming around the circle. We're about 3/4 of the way around. And your question is, well, how do I get up in the morning and how do I deal with it?
Mm-hmm. Because I've
It's
seen it way
hard.
too often that it debilitates somebody. They start drinking, they lose everything they have, they lose themselves.
So, okay. Well, I'm going to share this with you. Like I said, I don't know what my wife has shared with you.
Okay.
I'm an AA. I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for 7 years, almost 8 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Coming up this April. And prior to that, the marriage I had with the ex-wife was riddled with a previous history of things that detrimentally affected the marriage in a way that it was unsavable. So ultimately, that's why I kind of talked about the serenity prayer early on. I've seen that too. I've been to the point where I've been unemployed, divorced, alcoholic, thoughts of suicide, depression. And
It's okay, baby.
there's been times when that was crushing, but there's been a support network in my Friday night groups that helped me. But the ultimate thing of what helped me get through all of it were just the conversations that my wife and I had about it, and the relationship that my wife and I have built over the years. And it's different now than it was in our 30s and our 20s in college and high school.
Mhm.
There's a level of respect and understanding, but more importantly, there's a level of being vulnerable and authentic where I can share what hurts with her, and we don't try to solve it. She just listens, she understands. But then, yeah, there are conversations where we sit there and we try to solve it. And that to me is the most valuable thing that I have is my relationship with my wife, our relationship. Because, I mean, you hear everybody talk about this kind of stuff. Oh, the kids are resilient, they're this, they're that. My daughter she's me in female 18-year-old form, to the point where she's hard nosed. She knows what she thinks, but she doesn't know what she thinks at the same time. And that is the wall that I've been trying to break down. And unfortunately, it's been repeating itself, good and bad, good and bad, good and bad, where it takes a strain on my wife and I,
Yeah.
to the point where, we've been through therapy, we've been through the highs and lows in our relationship that's specifically either driven by my daughter or her kids. And sometimes it drives that wedge between her and I,
Mhm.
where, I wake up in the morning, I'm going through what I'm going through, and I don't know if you know this, I don't know if she should do that, share this with you. She does what she does in a certain town about 30 minutes away. I do what I do in a town about 40 minutes away. So we talk to each other.
You mean our jobs?
Our jobs, yeah.
Mhm.
We talk on the way to work, and we talk about what does the day look like? What does the week look like? How are things between each other? How are we feeling? What's on our mind? And that's a way that we maintain our connection, because by the time we get home, we're exhausted, we're tired,
In front
all
of
sorts
people
of
all
stuff.
day, you don't want to talk to anybody else.
Yeah, I'm done, right?
Yeah.
But we have to be able to break down any kind of, tiredness, angry, or if we're hungry or anything like
Yeah.
that, in a way to really kind of get through, to be able to just talk to each other about what we're thinking and we're feeling. I mean, it's really, in my opinion, it's that simple.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. Keeping your communication going is very important.
Yeah, because I mean, these kids are going to think what they're going to think and do what they're going to do until they grow old enough to realize, oh my goodness, they were right. Our parents were right.
Uh-huh.
And I'm hoping for the day where, my daughter comes to me and says, Dad, I understand the way you were with me. Why did you get me on this call?
Oh, honey. He's emotional.
Oh, he's crying and you're laughing. What's up with that?
Well, he's I've not seen him emotional like this in a while, so he's obviously been thinking about, what he might say if he talks to us.
Actually, I haven't. It's watching your sappy movies and okay. I'm hopeful for the day where my daughter matures enough to a point where she can say, Dad, thank you for loving and caring for me through the stuff that was difficult for me to get through. I see it now. I understand it.
Right.
And all I'm going to say is, I was there for you. I'm here for you. I'm always going to be there for you. Not even are you welcome, because a thank you to me isn't required, isn't needed, because that's part of the job of loving your child.
Yeah. You're right.
I said this, we talked about this a little bit earlier, Lori, about boundaries. And, that is what he just said is amazing. And part of that also is knowing how to place a boundary without becoming a punching bag, right? So being taken advantage of because you want to be able to support and be there, but that's the only method or the only avenue you have is by giving money or, them asking for money or whatever it is that isn't emotional.
Right.
Providing the material without being a punching bag or being a doormat.
Right.
And that's that's the challenge I think that my husband is facing is where is that balance? And I think as time has gone on, I think that he's gotten better at it, but it's not easy. It's not easy. And she's a girl and she's 18.
Right.
Yeah. So for example, let's go back 6 to 12 months. And from my perspective, there's been significant roller coasters with that. You take a year ago, December, there was the beginning of a relationship between my daughter and my wife before Christmas. And it grew all the way up to June, where we were doing our beach wedding in Florida. She came down. We did the ceremony. Friends and family were around. She had a week down there with us, with her friend. Just an amazing time. Then we go into the summer, and all of a sudden, it's like there's this me, and I don't know. I'm projecting. I understand that there's this. Oh my gosh, I'm having feelings or thoughts. I'm growing too close to my stepmom. I need to cut this off. But at the same time, it's like, hey, look, I can't be a doormat about certain things. You're using my credit card. You're not following the rules that I gave you. You're abusing it. Give me the credit card back. Okay. That's not going to happen anymore. Guess what? You're working, you're saving all sorts of money. I'll give you money when you need it, but I'm going to stop giving you your allowance until you start, behaving more appropriately. And maybe that's wrong by payment for behavior. Right. But at the same time, that's me not being the doormat. And more importantly, it's me not allowing myself to be manipulated by her, because she would emotionally play me in a way, even though that's the monster that I built. And that's the significant change that my wife is talking about, where just over time, the last 6 months, 8 months, I see things, I understand things, I play it differently. I don't let it emotionally bother me. I take a more objective approach to it,
right,
in a way that what makes sense, right? What's the right thing to do here? And by the way, don't react. Take your time. Act appropriately.
100%.
Yeah. So,
well, let me ask you this. I know that your wife has said that stepdaughter blamed her for some stuff, or I don't want to be around stepmom, right? Did you ever feel like your wife was the reason that your child wasn't coming over? Did you ever blame her?
No, I don't. There's a couple layers that are kind of going on here, and I don't know if some of it was talked about or not. My daughter not coming over partially has to do well, actually, let me back up. Yes, my wife is the reason for some of my daughter not coming over, but did I ever blame my wife for it? No, absolutely not. She's also an 18-year-old girl whose friends are more important than dad right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we make plans, all of a sudden she cancels and she's gone, right?
Right.
But between my wife and I, no, I did not blame her. To me, it solely resides on the shoulders of my daughter.
Right.
And here's the other thing. Part of what's not being said here is my daughter was angry at my wife when she should be angry at my ex-wife and me.
Right.
That's part of what she holds against my wife inappropriately when it should be directed towards me. And I've tried to talk about it, approach it. Hey, and you know how it is to try to correct an 18-year-old girl's mindset. You just can't. So it's like that's not even on my mind right now, is try to change what she thinks or what she feels. If she wants to blame my wife now, that's fine. When she matures and gets to the point where she understands that dad and ex-wife had their own problems, that's fine. I get it. I understand it. But it's not my wife.
Right.
And here's the thing that my wife has probably said to you. Well, I'll say it to you because to me it's important. My wife has been nothing but supporting and loving and being open to my daughter coming here, doing things, buying her presents, all this other kind of stuff that shows the love for her.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter plays the game of accepting some of it because she wants some of it or whatever it is, but then turns around and plays a game and is like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with her.
Right.
Yeah, it's not an easy situation to be in, but the mantra that I have for myself is no matter how I am, good, bad, I always say, I'm just me. And I don't mean that from an egotistical perspective. I mean that, and I say that to myself. I say that to my wife because it humbles me in a way to always go back to being authentic and being real with who I am, who we are. And you know what? I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks or how they feel.
Yep.
I've got to be true to myself and to my wife because this is what matters.
Right.
You see what I mean? Isn't he awesome?
He is awesome.
Excuse me. No,
you are awesome, man.
No, I'm just me.
I'm just me. Oh, there you go.
See how that works?
Oh, well, I see how it works. David's going to take that phrase, I'm just me. But he's going to mean it cocky and egotistically. I'm just me. You know, the great David. That's what he would say.
Yeah.
Or David the Great. Yeah.
Where is your husband?
He is upstairs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We were going to have him on the call, and then he's got some stuff to catch up on. We were out of town last week for a couple of days. So I figured I'd let him catch up on that stuff. Being the nice wife. Okay, the truth is that he was going to say probably inappropriate things, and I'd have to edit that out, and I didn't want to have to do that.
Saves you time on the back end, yeah.
It does. It does.
That's funny.
Yeah. I told him, I said, we've got to get you more active. We've got to start doing videos. So that's our goal, is to start doing videos.
There you go.
Yeah, not just audio. So wish me luck, because I don't like video at
That's
all.
a lot of effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do your hair.
Yeah.
Right? You got to have makeup
I'm probably not going to bother.
You got to have good lighting.
I'm just going to be me.
There you go.
I'm just going to be me. Well, I want to thank y'all very much for being a guest on our podcast and sharing your
thank
story.
You so much.
And
I'm glad that I got him up here to participate.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, I'm a hoot. Anytime you want to do a podcast with both of us at some point, that'd be great.
Yeah, we could end up getting in a fight, but that's okay.
Hey, let's do it. Me and you and David and him.
Awesome. I like it.
All right.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit for my edification here. I know obviously our situation. Your background, your history, your experience, is that what drove you to start the Not Show Kids podcast?
Yes, sir.
Yes, she's a stepmom.
And how did that work out for you? Like, if there's are there any lessons where you would
that's
say,
another podcast, baby.
well, yeah, I mean, is there anything that you would say like, hey, you guys are on the right track, just keep it going, or stop being this or stop doing that, that from your
Oh,
experience you
yeah.
can say,
Yeah.
okay.
So, like what your wife is doing now, if she wants to test the waters with your daughter to see if your daughter's interested in a relationship with her, she could at one point choose to send her a text. However, just, hey, how are you doing? Happy Valentine's Day, because it's coming up, right? However, if her sending that text, if your daughter doesn't respond, is going to upset your wife and cause resentment, she doesn't need to send it. She's not ready to send it.
Yeah, you got to be okay with a reach out without expecting anything in return.
Right.
My husband will tell you that he wouldn't want me to do that because he doesn't want to upset her.
No, absolutely not.
Yes, you would.
No, that is.
Oh, it's going to be so
untrue.
good to have y'all on a podcast together with David.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be a hoot. You're right.
All right,
Yeah.
we're not gonna talk about that one
Yeah.
later.
I wish you could see his face.
Well, I'll tell you our Reader's Digest version of our story. David and I were married. We prepared for the blend, read about it, researched it, all this happy stuff, even talked to counselors. Got married year 2. Things went to crap. I was sleeping in a separate room. We were one phone call away from divorce. The only thing holding me up was I had sold my house, and I did not want to uproot my son again. We went back to one of the counselors we had seen previously, and he kept telling me they were not my kids. And that, unbeknownst to us, was the birth of Nacho Kids. And it changed my life for the better.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And for me, it's been, and I mentioned this earlier, I was emotionally involved. I became emotionally involved when she finally came around to the both of us. I became emotionally involved in the relationship. And it wasn't that long. I mean, it was what, how long was it even, honey? Not even a year, right? Because she started coming around in October of 23, and then in August of 24, she had decided she didn't want to talk to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I had become, to circle around, I had become emotionally involved in it. My kids, my family, my parents.
You became attached.
Became attached to her. My dad sent her a birthday present.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, well, guess what? You don't want to have anything to do with me. You don't have anything to do with my family either.
Yeah, you don't matter all of a sudden.
You can't decide that you're gonna not like me and then not and like my family.
It's hard to see the other side of what's happening. She only sees and feels resentment for what's happened. She can't see getting through it, just see the positivity on the other side of it. That's the big issue right now, being 18.
Right.
So,
well, she's also, and tell me what the word is again. No, the loyalty bonds.
Loyalty bonds, yeah.
To her mom.
That has a lot to do with it.
It does. It's a huge influence. I told Lori how when she came here the first time, how she was in tears because her mom was giving her a hard time on the phone on the way here.
That's abuse, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
Her mom is a narcissist.
Yeah.
Like textbook.
Yeah.
So
are some people that I know. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Like, we all are a little bit narcissistic because we're human beings, but I feel like there are some that are absolutely diagnosable.
Well, when your hate for your ex outweighs the love for your child, you've got an issue.
Yes. Very, very, very good point. And that also, led to me bringing up how, my marriage may have been a train wreck, but my ex-husband is, a good dad. And he didn't poison, or chose not to try to poison my relationship with them, as far as I could see.
Right.
Which is episode number 3.
Yeah. Welcome to the whole month of our anonymous speakers. Next week will be They're Back.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, we are going to wrap this up for now, but I do want y'all back. So let's schedule that.
Awesome. That'd be great.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori.
All right, y'all. That was our podcast for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Next week, it may be David and myself, or it may be somebody else. Tune in and see.
It's like a Cracker Jack box. You don't know what you're going to get.
Right. But we are going to try to be consistent with once we start doing the episodes with us, that it's going to be every other week.
Yep. And remember, if you want to be interviewed on this podcast, reach out to us, contact us at nachokids.com. And don't forget to go to nachokids.com or nachokidsacademy.com for all of our resources.
And don't assume that your story is boring and won't help anybody. Every story helps somebody.
Yep. All right. Thanks for listening again. And remember, life is good
when you nacho.
Ooh, you did not miss your calling.
No. Is it that bad? Should I delete it?
No, leave it in there.
So they'll feel sorry for me. We better buy her academy because she surely can't sing.
She needs some singing lessons.
Let's see. Nacho.
Oh, Lord, no.